Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Mouthful of Marbles, your number one source for commentary and analysis of Marbula1. I am your host, Chasey the Goose Goose, and with me, David the Lake Lagus. David, how are you doing today?
I've never been better, sir.
Oh, excellent. Great to hear. Here we go. Razzway is this week's race, the penultimate race of this Formula One season. Uh, Give me your stuff. What have you got for me?
Sure. So the Razzway, an interesting circuit to be sure. It's somewhere between the short circuit and, of course, Greenston, which we've had the last two Grand Prix. It's interesting because it's probably, I believe, the second slowest circuit we've had so far, the second most turns we've had so far. But it's still not even close to Greenston and how technical that track is. So it'll be really interesting considering we're going to see the same group of marbles that we saw at Greenston. So these marbles haven't raced since then. So it'll be interesting to see if the O-Rangers, the Thunderbolts, Mellow Yellow, those sorts of teams that performed really well at Greenston can continue that here this week at the Razzway.
It looks like a great track. Lots of what do they call it? Lots of S curves. I'm not a technical term kind of guy, but lots of S curves and a decent amount of straights as well. So I think there can be a lot of chances for good overtakes. We can really see the technical side of things when it comes to like which lines the marbles are taking and how that will best provide the best racing for their particular strategies and all that. So let's talk about what we can expect to see this weekend, who we expect things from, what we think, we think qualifying will go, and each individual racer see what they're going to do, the best shot that they have, or who has the best shot of winning. So let's go into that.
Right. So qualifying this week should be very interesting, considering. You could potentially see this as the weaker group of the two groups of marbles.
Sure.
We have Mary instead of Prim, that sort of thing. But on the other side, and of course Snowflake instead of Snowy, which is another big gap.
Big gap.
But on the other hand, we have Wispy instead of Waspy, and that's the weaker marble on that team. So it could sort of go either way. In terms of how these marbles performed last week, we have to remember Orangin won last week. Or not last week, 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, right. Of the ones that are racing this week,
right.
Yes.
So him and Bolt for first and second. So if they can continue that momentum, that'd be huge. But if you look at the overall standings, you have to keep in mind here the team standings. Sorry,
right.
That this is going to be a huge week. We have a very close race between the top two and even Team Galactic in third. Now, the Savage Speeders and the Hazers, both teams did not perform well at Greenston at all. The last time they performed at a circuit like this, both teams didn't really do great. So if they can reverse that sort of trend, that would be huge. Or else they could, see the Rangers potentially getting back into this thing with only 2 races to go.
I think it's more of even just the fact that the teams in the top 3 that didn't do so well even last week, hopefully their racer this week can put out a better performance, because we had a bit, not a big, but a decent shakeup at the top. With Galactic scoring like no points, I'm pretty sure. The Hazers only scoring a couple. The Snowballs going crazy and getting that W. And then the Savage Speeders seem to have a consistency to them. And I think their best racer is racing tomorrow rapidly, or on Sunday. So I think it's a great chance for them to increase their lead, but at the same time, you never know how it's going to go with each of these racers. Obviously, who do you think is the person to look out for the most this week as they're racing?
I think, considering the type of track that it is, as much as I hate to say it, Orangin would have to be the favorite looking at the analytics going into this week. Perhaps not the strongest qualifier, a decent qualifier, but in the race last week, impressive, very impressive. Sorry, 2 weeks ago again.
Yes.
The last time he raced. And then Yellop would also have to be another marble to look out for, as well as Hazy. Those are sort of the top 3, I'd say. And then you also have to include Bolt just because of his performance as well at Greenston. But the top 3 for me would have to be Hazy, Yellop, and Orangin. Look out for those 3 marbles. You would be concerned about the Snowballs because they did have a huge week last week.
Yep.
Actually last week, not 2 weeks ago. And and they have their weaker marble racing this week in Snowflake. So if Snowflake can't pick it up, carry the baton for Snowy and keep the Snowball's momentum going, they're pretty much done for the season because they are sort of within strike. I mean, they're 20 points
back
down on the Savage Speeders.
They did jump 4 places or 6 places last week.
Right.
So
they would have to, I mean, to have any shot of winning at this point, both Snowballs and O'Rangers. O'Rangers probably has a slightly better chance this week considering they have their stronger marble and a stronger track for them.
Right.
But both those teams 20 points back, they're going to have to really hope that the top 3 teams just choke for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I will say, though, I think the Snowballs have a great chance this week because even though it is the weaker of the 2 marbles, from the beginning when we started watching Marbula1 a couple weeks back, I think the biggest thing that I noticed was how well the Snowballs and how well those marbles rolled on straightaways. And it just seemed like they had a specific, I don't know what it was, but it just seemed like every time I would watch them, they would always pick up time, even if it was a couple tenths of a second, but they would always pick up time on the straightaways. And I feel like this course is going to allude to their style a little bit more. But I'm also hoping, as you know, a Raspberry Racers fan myself, even though they're at the bottom of the leaderboard, I'm hoping that they will have another good week because as we were mentioning before earlier this week off camera, we saw that the Thunderbolts kind of broke the curse last week. Placed second, had a great race. So maybe, just maybe, I don't want to get too crazy with it, but hopefully they can have a good qualifying, the Raspberry Racers this week, and they can have a good finish because they're in desperate need to get back in that midfield since they've dropped down so far all the way into 14th. So I'm looking forward to this week. It's going to be great.
Yeah, and quickly on to the individual marble standings here. We have to keep in mind that Prim and Snowy have a sizable lead here, that every marble now has 1 race left, right? Yeah. So this is coming down to it. We're going to find out if any of these marbles can do anything in terms of catching Prim and Snowy because those 2 marbles are pretty far ahead at this point. So, Rapidly obviously has the best shot here. Hazy has a decent shot. The similar marbles that I was talking about winning this week have the best shot of keeping up with Prim and Snowy in the individual marble standings for the entire season in the championship bracket. So seeing if those marbles can create enough of a lead over Prim and Snowy that it won't matter if Prim and Snowy have a good race next week.
Yeah, I mean, the top 8 are all separated by 11 points only. And with that tie at the top with Prim and Snowy, and then Rapidly's going this week, right? And then Hazy and Yellow, and Orangin. So we're gonna see how these people match up because it's really coming down to the wire. I did not expect the Racers Championship to be this close. But Snowy making a huge appearance, I don't think anybody really saw that coming from him, especially after the qualifying.
Right. I just want to touch on that last thing here. The fact that Prim and Snowy are tied at 42 points and the disparity between their average qualifying position, 7.5 places. Snowy has not been a great qualifier, but has raced out of his mind. He has far and away the biggest average rise from start position as well at 6 1/3 positions. Every race, this man is an excellent overtaker.
I'm telling you, it's on those straights. Those Snowballs, they know what they're doing, especially Snowy.
Snowy has to be considered at this point of the season the best overtaker in Marbula1, and it's not close.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. Well, can't wait for qualifying tomorrow. It's going to be a great time. We'll be watching it live, not for you guys, but we'll be watching it live and then putting out a video as soon as we possibly can talking about each individual marble and what we're seeing based on their qualifying. And before we go, I just want to ask that you guys give us some topics that you'd like us to discuss. We want to have some stuff during the week, more of like a variety show, kind of talking about, different storylines, who you think is the best, who you don't. Let's get a little discussion in the comments going, and we'll see what happens. Also, be sure to like or upvote our posts on the Reddit if you think so, if you would be so kind. We'd love to get the traction going, especially with the announcements that Marbula1 Season 2 will be happening. We'll have Formula 2. We'll have all kinds of great stuff, so we can be able to bring you lots and lots of delicious content when that all starts. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. Share us if you'd like. And we'll see you tomorrow after qualifying.